Hello, I'm a girl named Ron, an MTGO creator, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I got the chance during MagicCon Las Vegas to sit down with Torbin and Tony of Magic the Gathering Online and interview them about the platform, the creator program, the Vintage Cube, and so many more things. I would love it if you give it a listen.
Hello, I'm a girl named Ron, and I am here with Torbin and Tony from MTGO, or Magic the Gathering Online. Say hello.
Hello. Hi, how's it going?
Torbin is the senior community manager, and Tony is the product manager for MTGO. And I'd love to interview you and ask you guys a couple questions.
Fantastic. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for being here. For people unfamiliar with Magic the Gathering Online, how many different formats of Magic are currently available to play on the format?
Let's see. We got our main 6. We have Momir. We have Dual Command, about 10 or so. Yep.
Okay. I know this answer varies, but roughly how many events are run each month on the platform?
As the guy who puts those events up into the system, we have 35 challenges and 30 prelims and a couple of premieres and a week, and then leagues. So depending on how you define events, it's somewhere around 250 or so.
And how do you decide what those events are?
Well, you're just gonna hold the mic. So
you're getting some. Don't worry.
I've been doing this a long time. I've been handling MTGO events even on my Wizards time, and so we try to spread out the schedule. We try to figure out who's playing what when, and meet that audience, and try to have as much variance as possible. We try to have a good balance between constructed and limited. And so it's a big jigsaw puzzle that's pretty fun to try to keep up and improve on over time.
I'd like to add on to that for a minute. One thing I do want to point out is Tony and team actually take a lot of time and a lot of investment in the community to make sure that they are listening and adhering to like what they're wanting. So there's a lot of times people say, hey, can you add this event, or can you add this thing ad hoc? And Tony looks at it and says, sure, if there's demand for it, we absolutely will. He'll take a look at it. And within the course of sometimes hours, he'll have events up and live for players who have requested it, which is something to be said, because typically in companies, in gaming companies, they do not move that quickly.
Right.
You can't have an event and an execution up as quickly as Tony and team do. And he's built the system internally to be very much like that, so he can make those changes on the fly as needed and adjust things to make sure that the community's happy.
That's super cool, and I appreciate that. So thank you for working really hard at that. That's a great segue into my next question. Magic the Gathering has a very diverse community.
Yes.
As a community manager, how do you ensure that all of the community voices are seen and heard, and how do you take that feedback? Where does that go?
So that's always going to be a challenge. As we progress as a company, as we progress as a society, you constantly have to stay on the bleeding edge of what's going on, both culturally, in government and politics and everything else. And while we don't talk about a lot of that stuff, it's something that I take very personally. So my diversity initiatives are, I want to be inclusive as much as possible. I want to make sure that we have as many different cultures and walks of life as part of us, because magic is for everyone. Right? And that's something that we say a lot. It's like magic is for everyone. It's Magic the Gathering. It's not magic the only.
Right.
So when we look at this, we're like, how do we make sure that we are really helping support the different people and the different groups that want to play Magic? And then what do they want to play Magic? So that a lot of evaluation and time and effort goes into listening to the community, talking with them consistently, talking with creators, talking with, different groups that are like, hey, we're struggling with this. Okay, well, how can we help? Right? Great example is Judge Academy. When Judge Academy had, unfortunately shut down, I went to Tony and I said, hey, Tony, is there any way that we can help support these guys? Because now there's a need. And so now we're starting to work with them more and some of the judges out there. So that's just one aspect of the community that we're constantly looking at. And Tony's also doing a great job of that.
So I was a judge for a very long time prior to working for Wizards, and I was on the team when we were doing Magic Online Judge Opens every year at Wizards. And so that was very much on the forefront of my mind when this came up, and so it's been great. We ran one Judge Open in July. We have another one coming over the holidays. We're also working on pilot programs for judges to work with their community by having a MTGO Commander account to share and play games with and build their own communities. So the judge program is a very big part of me.
And to finalize that, every single community matters to us, and we definitely take the time necessary to ensure that we are supporting them the best way possible.
Thank you. I know the MTGO Creator Program is relatively new. Could you give me some insight as to the decision-making process behind choosing creators to help represent that brand?
You had to ask that question.
I had to.
So I need to give a little backstory here.
Mm-hmm.
I've been working with content creators for over a decade. I've personally vetted well over 7,000 creators. So when I go and look at a creator, I am looking at a new number of things. How much is their audience engaged, right? Mm-hmm. Do they have an active audience on different platforms? Are they on different platforms? Are they on the solo platform? If they're on a solo platform, what are they doing? I look at not metrics, but what they're doing as a creator. Are they a creator or are they a part-time like a streamer, right? Mm-hmm. That matters because some people just like to stream, which is completely fine, but that's not a content creator. Right. Content creator is someone who actually takes it seriously as a business and looks at that from a diversity perspective of, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Twitch. Not saying you have to be on all those, but it definitely gives me a breadth of content to review and look at. So when I'm looking at someone, I'm looking at consistency. I'm looking at your content types. I'm looking at, are you family friendly, mm-hmm. right? Because that's important to us. Right. Are you creating content that is going to be synergistic with what we're doing, right? Are you, even if it's not MTGO related, is it Magic related, right? That is important to me too. So I have journalists, cosplayers, videographers, literally everything you can think of in the Magic ecosystem inside of our program. So a content creator is not a streamer. Mm-hmm. A content creator is someone who's creating content for the community that they're going after, which could be a podcast, right? So every single one of those things matters. When I'm evaluating, I probably spend anywhere from 3 to 5 hours per creator going through and looking at their social media, their YouTube, their Twitch, everything. But if they don't give me anything to look at, that's when I don't take a lot of time. Okay. Right. So if it's like one social channel, I can only look at so much. Sure. And that doesn't give me a good understanding of who they are as a creator and what they're going for and what their goals are. And that's what I look for. I want to see, are you hungry? Do you want this? Yeah. Right. If you don't, and all you're doing is tweeting every once in a while, that's not a content creator. I'm sorry. It's really not. Yeah. And I'm not trying to be mean about it, but it's also like, you have to look at the other people you're going up against, and all of the other thousands of applications that we get. Yeah.
Thank you. What is one thing you think all creators should be doing and conversely not doing right now?
That's creator to creator basis. There is no catch-all. If I had to give general advice, I would say make sure you're on as many platforms and you have your brand secure on as many platforms as possible. So if there's a new platform, for instance, Blue Sky, if there's a new platform that's popping off and you see people starting to migrate, make sure you get your name, right? Yeah. If nothing else, so that you have that presence there. And then consistently posting. Brands look for people who are engaging with their audience natively and not looking for handouts. So I would say consistently be posting no matter what the content is. If you want to start somewhere, you need to start small and then build up, mm-hmm. right? Looking at your platforms, and each platform's different. So it's, like I said, it's not a catch-all and every creator's different. So what their goals and plans are may be different from you, for instance. Right. And so I can't come to you and say, hey, I want you to start streaming 5 times a week when that's not your goals. Yeah. Right. So that doesn't make sense. So it comes down to an individual basis and what they want to do with their content. But consistency, I would say, is the biggest thing.
Great. Thank you. This question is probably for Tony. I know we touched on this a little bit earlier off mm-hmm. camera, mm-hmm. but do you have many international players? And how does that impact things like event dates and times?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The majority of players are in North America or Brazil or in the Western Hemisphere section. So we do front load a lot of those events towards our biggest audience. The next largest group is Euro. It's interesting. The quality players we get from international is amazing. Most of the people who qualify for regional championships come from non-US. And it doesn't matter what time the event starts. Like it's epic, actually. And Japan is represented as well, probably overly so in Premier Play. So we've been making more of an effort. We were listening to Australia, New Zealand, and they were asking for some more Premier Play, or more play, just challenges and such. So we added a couple in. I mean, very cognizant. I mean, it's a thing that we were not cognizant of before, and we've become very cognizant of now. Folks in Euro and APAC may wonder how they get very few events. I try to balance it as far as premier events go, just to give each region or give those regions an equal chance related to each other.
Separate events.
So yeah, they're not region locked, but they're timed for their stuff. Or if we have regional championship in the US, then I'm scheduling Euro and APAC events. Like this weekend, for example, is that way because tons of people are here. That's been a fun part of things too, especially expanding the mid-level events like challenges, the ones that go to a top 8 and finish, and it's like 7-hour events or whatever. And so they're been doing more of those in more time zones to address the audience.
Thank you. I think it's important for employees of a gaming company to get to participate in the gaming experience. Do either of you ever get to play in your own events or games on your downtime?
Interestingly, I had a player in a Commander game online last week who said, "Can you please have more of your team play with us?" Like, it's interesting. Like, it is a hard balance between having time for your own interests and playing and stuff. I just happen to be. I like to joke that I'm a Magic monogamist to a fault. And so, yeah, you'll see me playing Commander occasionally. You'll see me play Arena sometimes too. Like, but that's all part of being involved with Magic, right? And so, we have the ability to a point. Wizards and Daybreak folks can't play in the Premier system, but
casual play.
Yeah, so we do internal play tests a bunch among our team, in addition to our testing team. So everyone who is on the Magic Online team is very much a Magic fan, and then it's just a matter of how much time they want to devote to it outside. So,
I mean, you'll see me in Super Jump and in Draft, and if I beat you, I'm not sorry. I am probably the worst Magic player on the face of this planet, so if you lose to me, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, so for me, I actually have scheduled time every day where I sit down and I look at gameplay, right? Like what's going on in gameplay. Let me get in client. Let me look at the client. Let me see what's going on in there. I try to at least get a couple drafts in a week.
Awesome.
So I am consistently trying to play and keep up with the new sets and everything else that's going on. So I can know, because there's so many Magic cards and so much stuff going on all of the time. It's like, I need to also know what's happening. Like, Nadu. Why is Nadu banned? What's going on with Nadu? Heart Nadu. Like, what is Nadu? Why is that big controversy? Like, what's going on in Commander scene? So I'm definitely I need to keep my finger on the pulse. So I'm constantly in game looking at different stuff in client and working with Tony and team. And I know Tony plays a lot. We've play tested various different decks together and just the stuff like that online. And it's a lot of fun to play, but there also is that caveat of hey, we also have work to do.
Right. My last 3 questions are for both of you, and this is just casual, opinion based. What is your favorite card in MTG? If you had to pick a card that you just love to play, you could put it, in a majority of your decks, or you just love it. You slot it in whenever you can.
So, I mean, I only have one card, and it just has more nostalgia / it's the card that I love and have loved for a long time, and that's Lightning Bolt. Because you always go face with Lightning Bolt. There is no other target. If you don't go face with Lightning Bolt, you're doing it wrong. But the reason why is my dad gave me a Lightning Bolt when I was very little, when I was at 12. And that's where I started my Magic collection as a whole and really started to push down into the Magic scene. And so that's why it's near and dear to my heart.
It's all about Commander decks for me. I was one of the people who kind of helped integrate Commander into the Seattle community in the mid 2000s. Kind of converted over from 150 Singleton and whatnot, and started running casual festivals and stuff. And so I know vividly the order in which I made my first few decks. And my third deck I ever made was Teysa Orzhov Scion, one white black. And she does what I call the Teysa hop. You sacrifice 3 creatures to exile another creature, and then you can also get spirit tokens if those creatures were black. I've morphed that deck so many different ways, so many different times, so many different themes. I'd say that is my signature card, but I will say my new signature card is Baba Lysaga Night Witch, which is the one that cares about card types. Oh my god, that deck had so much stuff out of Duskmourn. It is awesome. That is an actual like Sudoku style puzzle for me, and that is the most fascinating thing. I am all about the crazy. I'm not about combos. I'm about a ton of different synergy in my decks, and so those 2 cards really represent me.
You're a legend lover.
I am a legend. That's right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Conversely, what MTG card gives you the biggest ick?
Oh, that's easy. There are 2 cards that I have asked Scott Larrabee to ban in Commander for years and years, since we've been friends for very long, and that never happened. Consecrated Sphinx can die in a fire, and the original Vorinclex is the most unfun card you can play against. I mean, other than Stasis, but nobody actually plays Stasis anymore.
Oh, there's one card. Mm-hmm. I can't remember the name of it. It's basically you.
I joke that my middle name should be auto cards. So go ahead.
So it's the one card that one Commander guide played, and I ever since then I've absolutely hated it. It basically says everything costs 1 more mana, and it's spells and creatures, and I can't remember what it was.
Grand Arbiter Augustine.
Yeah, that thing. You can ban that and throw that away. Like that is a horrible card, and it makes everything just not great.
I kind of love that card.
So, Chaos Draft once, I played a red-green deck that splashed for that card.
Of course you did.
Amazing.
Of course you did.
My final question. Today we are watching the top 8 of the Vintage Cube battle it out. What is your favorite thing about this cube, and what would you hope to draft from it if you were playing it?
I mean, there's only like really one clear choice, and that's the Lotus, or any of the Power 9. Really, that's what I would hope to draft. But
how quickly we've forsaken Lightning Bolt.
Listen. Lotus or Lightning Bolt? I wonder which one I'm going to go with. In general, the Vintage Cube is really cool in general, and I think there's a lot of amazing cards in there. And Ryan Spain and the team have done an amazing job building that thing. We got to see a glimpse of it yesterday, and it's just phenomenal. Listening to the Lotus being cracked and graded was the most terrifying experience of my life.
Besides the obvious, I would hope to draft a Reanimator deck. That's kind of where I like to fall, and I'm better at old Legacy Cube than Vintage Cube because Legacy had a dedicated Reanimator deck. That's the direction I would go with that. And this Vintage, I will say, this Vintage Cube live experience from creation to execution to everything else has been one of the biggest challenges that I've had in my career, and has been fascinating. It's great to actually see it actually get to the finish line tonight. Like, I'm ridiculously excited for it. I'm waiting for that moment when Marshall yells out over there, "Oh my God, it's the Black Lotus!" And there's this roar in the room of people seeing that, and it's I'm either that or it's gonna be really tense tomorrow because they'll be playing for the Lotus.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about that. And as a bigger thing with Vintage Cube, we've heard people have voted with their dollars. Vintage Cube is the most popular thing on Magic Online by a fair amount now. And so we're finding more ways to integrate it into what we're doing. So stay tuned for details on Vintage Cube more often than you might expect.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. It was a pleasure, and I really appreciate everything that you guys are doing for the community and for the platform. And I'm honored to be a Magic Online creator.
Well, thank you for being part of the Magic Online creator group.
Jazz hands, big finish.
Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on all of my social platforms and bookmark my affiliate links.